Hi guys, how are you guys doing? Hello. Hi, welcome on in. Hi. Hi Dominique, how are you doing? Hello, well thanks for subscribing. I'm doing pretty good. I guess having a little bit of a late start to my day, but I'm here doing a little back massage. I don't know if you guys can hear a little machine going off in the background. But I just wanted to hop on and say hi to everybody, see how we're all doing today. Got my decaf protein coffee, kind of gets settled a little bit, and so I gotta stir it up. I've also got my water and my snacks, and I was thinking I would get in my workout here soon, but I wanted to hop on and say hi, and I guess maybe share some words of inspiration or motivation if we're needing to be uplifted in that way. I know I just listened to some motivational stuff from the people that I like to listen to, and always reminds me of who I am and what I stand for and what is my personal mission and all that good stuff. So let's see. Okay, so yes, first video I listened to this morning was about emotional self-regulation. So that is an interesting topic and idea. Let's see, because as someone who has not been raised per se in an environment where there was emotional regulation, oh, thank you, Nadira. I just braided it, trying to keep it contained. But yeah, as you know, someone who's not had emotional regulation for a long time, I've always had my journal to be the thing that I let my emotions out on so I can process them and then move on with my life. Whereas I feel like everywhere around me there was just emotional, and there was just there's noise pollution is what my dad would call it. There's noise pollution everywhere. You know, you go to school, there's just kids shouting and talking nonsense and just living out their life's experience. But in my mind, it was noise pollution because it did not serve me in any way. So, oh, you guys can hear my cat. That is, his name is Prince. He's my little tuxedo cat. He's actually my boyfriend's cat. He kind of came with the boyfriend. Prince. Meow. And he's a very loud meower. He's got a loud voice. And so with all of that, I guess dysregulation, you could say, I somehow got the strong urge to not do it too, I guess you could simply say. It felt to try and be like everyone else, or to try and also join in on the fun, what seemed fun emotional dysregulation, didn't feel good. It felt way better to be emotionally in tuned and to be able to express myself clearly and to be calm in most situations and all these different things, right? So it really didn't make sense to go about life living out and projecting my own experience. It felt way better to sit with my emotions and feelings and thoughts, process them, say I accept and love this about me, however it does not serve me. So, you journal it out, you say what you do and don't like, and you just know that what you don't like won't linger. So I have a ton of journals because we have a ton of thoughts and emotions, and I didn't want to connect to anybody growing up who was also emotionally dysregulated. So I have a lot of friends who now come to me who say that they've been through all this stuff, and they trust to tell me the hard things, and they didn't come to me at the time for several reasons when these things would happen, because I was trying so hard to fit in too. Maybe they would have come to me, if I had shown that I was a safe place to come to. But for so long, even though I tried to be a safe place for myself, it was really hard to just be safe for myself. So to be safe for other people was also very hard, and something that sometimes I'm still even working on, or still articulating and creating that space. So yeah, just listening to that video of self-regulation brought up all of those thoughts and feelings and emotions about the past and the future, and where do I stand right now, and then in the video she gave about, I think it was like 6 steps to kind of be a higher quality version of yourself. Maybe I could link the videos once the live is up on my channel. They were really good. Or if you want to look them up yourself too, they were from what's her name? Now I'm even forgetting. I know, or Natalie's her first name, but that's not going to help anybody if we don't also have her last name. So Alex Hormozy was the next one that I watched, and I watched 2 of his videos. One of them being about the 28 rules to stay poor. So maybe I should also preface that I'm listening to people who are very wealthy, they're business owners, they have a fitness background, which is why I resonate with them. And now they are essentially giving all this advice on YouTube. And so I feel like I really resonate with the people that I listen to because I kind of would like to find myself in that place as well in the future. So to listen to these people who are really, really successful and they have elevated their life just by pushing really hard to excel in their accomplishments has been very inspirational. One of the rules he says in the video is, stop taking, and it's obvious, right? It's stop taking rich people advice from the people around you who are not as rich and successful as you like to be. And they, people can say all they want, but they're not actually following through with their actions. They don't actually have that amount of success. So why would you take advice from them? And as a young person, of course, but I think it's because you think that you're getting good advice from someone that you trust, that you have known your whole life. You trust people that you know, so it would make sense to trust these people that you know. But now all of a sudden I'm trusting people on the internet who I've, met through the videos that they put out and through the postings that they post on their socials and whatnot. And all of a sudden I trust their opinion more than I trust my own family's opinion. And it's not to say that I don't love my family. I do, I love them so much. Always have and always will. But there is something to be said about not listening to the advice of someone who doesn't have what you want. And why would you listen to them? You'd only listen to people who have what you want. And so I only emphasize this rule in particular that he mentions because it kind of just bleeds into everything else that he talks to, but that was the one thing that, I need to remember. There was several really good ones that I obviously can't really name off the top of my mind anymore. But just by listening to a couple videos that remind myself of who I am and what I stand for and all these things kind of gets me out of my own slump. So last week, a lot of shifts and changes were made. I quickly pivoted and had my day to kind of just grieve and pity myself and to think and process and to make plans on how to shift and move forward. And then the next day I was like, all right, putting into action, here we are, we're moving on. So here is now officially the first week of a full week of that, of the new change that happened. And I'm doing my best to be logical. And I've noticed that in the last week and the weeks before that, it was really hard to be logical, and it was really hard to think for myself, and it was really hard to remember who I was. And I just kind of realized just by watching those videos that I can't forget. It is imperative not to forget who you are and what you stand for, and to be aligned with your mission. It is imperative to do the things that are hard. It is imperative to do the right things, not just keeping yourself busy, but it's very important, imperative to do the things that actually move the needle forward in your life. And yet those are the things that I will be the first, but never the last person to say that I am definitely procrastinating in that arena. So yesterday I noticed towards the end of the day, and it was something I was kind of just pondering on for most of the day as I was working here at my desk, that for a long time, most of my 20s, I was really good at just staying busy and using that youthful energy that, young people have as they say. I don't know if that's completely true, but and we're able to use that youthful energy, quote unquote, to stay busy but not actually really get that much done. And so what these people that I've listened to have done, they took their 20s very, very seriously, and they did all the things that were really, really hard at that stage. And so now here they are in their early 30s, and here I am, I'm now 30, and they've really made a name for themselves, and they have strived for what they really want, what they want their life to be like. And here I spent my 20s kind of driven by procrastination, fear, lack of knowledge. And so, although I got a lot of things done and I got my degrees, I went to school, I figured out what kind of partner I do and don't want in my life, I processed my dad's passing, I processed a lot of things, and I have come up with a lot of great ideas. And I worked on myself by going to the gym every day. I did some bodybuilding shows. I've done a lot of really cool things, and somehow got on stage on a bodybuilding competition stage where a lot of people, that's a really big fear, like getting on stage practically in just a bikini and having to have gone through a prep of 4+ months. It's all very hard, it's all very scary, and to say that I've done that a couple times reminds me that, oh yeah, I have pieces of evidence to show that I am capable of this. Don't need to reinvent the wheel. I don't need to be a special snowflake. Like, things don't need to work out for me in my own way. It's you find what has worked and you do what has worked. It takes the guesswork out of a lot of things. And so if we know as humans that there are a lot of facts, that if you just follow those facts, you take the emotion out of it, you take the drama out of it, you take so many things out of it, then you realize that you don't need to have, an ego to anything. You don't need to come up with some identity or story as to why we're special snowflakes and nothing works for us except for what we do for ourselves. That is hard. I'm telling you, I'm still, as someone who is super, super stubborn and who holds to her identity, I've been told by my mom for many years, you are so stubborn about your identity and what you hold on to, and this story that just keeps living on in your mind, and all these things. It's kind of hard and vulnerable to, put that out there, but it's so true. It is so true that has been something that has held me back for such a long time, and yet I think that by talking about it, addressing it, realigning my story to what is actually going on, then I am just one step closer to being able to really make shit happen. Let's see, I'm falling behind on some comments. Want to make sure I'm just sharing what's going on, but shall we start from let's see. FC Lover, can you give a shout out? Sure. Truth is, success is nowhere near as complicated as they make it. People simply don't know what to do. 100%. I know, like, once I actually, like, think about, okay, well, once all that shit's gone, what do I actually do? Like, what is the steps? And so, learning from other people will help. So, as I am trying to grow and be successful and accomplish my own goals, I realize that there are people who know how to do what I want, what I like really, really need to do, and what I know would work for myself. And so just committing to it and learning from them. So something I thought about this morning as well as I was listening to those videos was, let's, as a personal exercise for myself, and if you feel, compelled to do it as well, then go for it. But something I wanted to do to realign myself to my journey is to find where my pivotal point is. So in someone's like grandiose success story that they will tell, like in a video, interview, whatever, they'll say, I started out here, I did this, I tried that, I got this, and then this happened. And so they kind of tell you a timeline of what's going on for themselves, but this was my pivotal moment. I did this and everything changed. And so I wanted to find my own pivotal moment, and what I had to do was, if I have gotten all of this education all throughout my life, these are all the schools I went to and accomplished so far, what they all have taught me, and what do I need to know now in order to be successful like I have been. So, and what is stopping me from choosing that success for myself now. And so I've kind of already processed and already kind of came to my own conclusions. So if in all these different schoolings that I've gone to, I have associated learning in school as free because I went to public school and then I went to a private school. When I did go to private school, my mom also taught there, which then meant we got free tuition. So me and my 4 siblings got to go to this private school, all because my mom became a teacher there at that school. So bless her heart and bless her soul, she is still there, even though all of us are like almost graduated and done with college. And so in my mind, for some odd reason, I've correlated learning with free education, like it's free. And so now all of a sudden I'm in a place where I even went to college. All of it was paid by FAFSA. Like I don't have any debt. I'm like 2 years out of college and I'm out of debt. I have no school debt whatsoever. And also kind of just because we're so lower side on the lower class, we're between the lower and the middle. We're really not very wealthy people, so I qualified for Pell Grants and things like that got me through college. So it was a blessing in disguise. It was like, great, awesome, but it would be really nice to have been able to afford the education and not live my life by finding the things that are free and only learning from the things that are free or close to nothing, right? Because they will say the more you pay, the more you pay attention, right? And then yes, but there is some manipulation to that. I feel like that gets a little bit manipulated here and there, so you have to be careful. So So yeah, as I am going through all of my different forms of education that I've had throughout my life and how I've kind of just taken it all for granted because it was just forced upon me to have to learn these things, I now realize that like it makes sense still that if I don't know something, I go to a program, I go to a coach, I go to something or someone that knows a thing that I don't know and I learn from it, right? And yeah, something. I mean, I see your comment. I never agreed to that. Some of the best advice is literally free. Sure, because you probably learned something from someone who was willing to be a mentor. Maybe you didn't have to pay for being a mentor, or I don't know. Whatever the case was for you, yes, I agree that there can be some of the best advice because it was something that moved you forward. But I'm not looking here for advice. I'm trying to learn skills. I'm trying to learn my craft so well that I am the best at what I do in my area. So, kind of already done the research, and just here in my radius of where I live, I don't ever hear about super successful personal trainers. I never hear about super successful fitness and nutrition coaches. Maybe they are around, like, but they're not making themselves super, super obvious. So, in my mind, I'm already doing pretty great. So, but I'm not letting that stop me. I've done my, accidental research on social media, on Instagram and whatnot, and I have found that there's so many really great coaches out there, but they're just not within, like, the vicinity of where I live. They're in Houston, Texas, they're in Florida, they're in New York, they're everywhere else. They're in LA, but I'm in NorCal, so NorCal just seems to get really quiet and really dim. I don't know in regards to the health and fitness, like people keep themselves in almost like any industry, it seems like, more muted than other places. I feel like other states and other places are like so loud and noisy about what they do, and they're so gregarious and they're so energetic and all these different things, and I feel like everyone here kind of like plays it super, super quiet. But it's like, dude, we're in California, we live in like the prettiest place. Like, why are we so quiet? Like, where is everybody? Why are we all so muted? Like, we need to recognize that we can live a full life too. And I just feel like all these people in other states and places are living such a full and fragrant life, and it's so interesting. So yeah, I am going on my passion. What do they call it? My soapbox, if you will. But yeah. And so I keep trying to think about, well, what is the next step for me? And if you guys want like a real life experience of me processing, maybe help me out if I get stuck, or, whatever the case is. But, okay. Should I start from the very beginning of all the schools I went to, or shall I just go, I graduated, let's just go from high school. Let's just cut all the rest of that stuff out. Let's say I graduated high school with my diploma. Great. Everything else I've been super successful about. I've, accomplished, succeeded, I've done fine, I've passed, I've moved. Got to high school. That's kind of where I feel like the shit hits the fan, because now it's up to me. It's not up to all this schooling that I've just been kind of forced to have, right? So it's up to me to be like, I know what my learning style is. I know what my passions are. I know what I want to get into now, which I can say that now, but not back then. Back in like once I graduated high school, I was just, as ditzy as all ever. I was just kind of like clueless. But my mom said, please go to college. Do anything and go to college. So there is a junior college just a couple cities away from me. I go to this junior college. And I graduate with my associates for transfer in psychology. I say, I don't really care or like any of these other topics, but the one thing I think about and the one thing that keeps me up at night is psychology and thinking about human behavior and human expression and all these different things. So I think about people, the study of humans, right? So I get my AA for transfer in psychology. I immediately get accepted into Cal Maritime Academy, which is great. And I get my bachelor's. So here's my associates. I got my associates. And then I go and get my bachelor's in 2 years in business administration. It had nothing to do with psychology. It had nothing to do with anything I've ever learned before. And it was the eye-opener that perhaps I needed. Perhaps everything happens for a reason, right? So I get my business administration degree, and then I'm once again, kind of like, what the fuck do I do now? So I apply for these jobs, and out of desperation, I take a personal training job, which now that I think about it, it's way out of order. I should have done that a long time ago if I wanted to be perfect about the order of which I go about things, but I didn't. I had always loved fitness since about the age of 10 when I started to do those Nike training club workouts that you could get on your phone. So from the age about 10 to about 20, I'm working out, I'm exercising, I'm, learning about nutrition, all these things, but I'm not fully focused. Like, they're just things I'm experimenting with. Some days I'm like, oh, like, why do I still look like this? And oh my gosh, I'm like starving. I have a hollow leg. I'm just going to eat and eat and eat. I have all these different things that go on. So by the time I get to this stage, I'm like, oh, well, this is something that I can like now fully get into because I've always had a love for it, and I can get certified and I can do this. So I do. I kind of regret it. I kind of don't. It just is what it is at this point. So, just want to say hi for personal training, but quit when they say, I know, there's some places I was offered 20 an hour, and then you get admin at this, you got admin hours, which just meant you were preparing programs, you were cleaning the studio, you were doing these things. Come on, let's go. And still, it was just ridiculous. And so here I am taking this personal training job, getting paid 20 an hour. I am at an all-time self-esteem low because I don't feel like I'm worth anything more despite having all this education, right? I work at this job for about a year. It's so hard and draining. I am in debt on top of that. Credit card debt, not like school debt. Because I can't comfortably afford anything. And I quit that job. I very quickly get an actual office job, so my telecommunications. And I learn so much in that job. I meet new people, I learn about a new industry, I learn how to be even more professional because it had been a couple years since I've worked an office job. And, oh my lord, these cats are driving me nuts. And for various reasons, that company recently let me go, and that is the biggest change that's the big shift that happened in the last week. They decided it wasn't a good fit, probably for both, several reasons. I would say, just in taking responsibility for myself, I let emotions and I let laziness and I let fear dictate my behavior, and I wasn't my best self. I wasn't working hard enough, and all these things. So, and there was just things that they did that I didn't like, and there was just values and things like that I didn't really, there was actions and things that happened that I didn't like, and which caused me to behave the way that I do or did. And so I feel a little misunderstood, and a little misunderstood, and I don't know what other word I could use. That's a big one. I feel very misunderstood, and I don't want to say mistreated. I wasn't really mistreated per se. I was treated very well. I was treated very well. And behind all of this, oh my lord, I have finally gotten, my cat needs to finally get out of debt from that personal training job. So I'm like, woohoo, I'm doing a little bit better. And so here I am now in this very moment, realizing that psychology degree promised me maybe a $60K a year job. Bachelor's degree, they promised an $80K a year job based on what I learned there. Which I learned a lot, but I felt like there was so much more that I could have learned, but I wasn't there for all 4 years. It was a transfer, so I was only there for 2. I feel like I missed out compared to the people who had 4 years, because they got before COVID and during COVID, where I just had COVID, the time where we were all shut down. And anyway, so didn't get the full experience. And despite all of this shit, though, that happened, I wasn't gonna let any of this get me down. So I'm getting experience from this personal training job, but I'm only getting, literally, this boss was a fucking scam. He was buying cars and motorcycles and all these things where I'm barely able to scrape by because of how low paying that job was. It was a fucking scam. And so I'm not getting paid $80K a year, I'm getting paid $30 a year to do 10 times more exhausting work than what someone who got an $80K job does. They are on the extreme side of pure laziness, because you think with your brain and not with your body, versus being a personal trainer. You spend every day exhausting yourself physically and mentally to only get $30K a year. It was just absurd. It's super absurd. While my boss probably made way more than that and was able to afford all the fun toys that he wanted. So anyways, then I get into this telecom job where I get paid $50K a year. Okay, cool. That's a step up. And maybe if I work my way up, then I will get bumps and raises and whatever. So great. And turns out I don't kiss ass enough when it comes to working for someone else. I don't kiss ass enough. Whereas I saw everyone else around me kissing so much ass every day. Just, oh my gosh, it was just, I get it, that's the game, and that's what you have to do. I just lost so much respect and opinion for myself when I was doing that. And it's not to say that other people don't, because in some days, in some ways, yes, I very much respected myself because I am working in an official position. I get, all this autonomy and room to, problem solve. I don't have to worry about anything else going on. Like, I just have to focus on this and be really, really good at what I do and don't need to focus on anything else. But my mind was just scattered. Like, I was learning a lot. I was finally getting a handle on this regulation position. But I would look around and I would observe people and I would, have an opinion on something, and I would process my emotions on something. And so I was maybe to other people, I seemed really all over the place and misaligned with the company's mission and all these things, all because I wasn't kissing enough ass. That's really all because I wasn't focused enough, all because of these things. And honestly, what it came down to is they didn't give a fuck about how I felt. They didn't give a fuck about my life. They just thought, if you were willing to do the work, we'll give you a slice of this pie. That's really all it comes down to. And so, as much as that sucks, and as much as a lot of people have to suck it up and do it, because it kind of low-key pays the bills and gets you a life that you want, it drains the life out of you so badly. And I definitely felt like that was just draining the life out of me. I just could not believe that I was working with these people that were trying so hard to be robots and trying so hard to be these different things. And to some degree, I get it, but at the same time, I have not been in an environment where you had emotional regulation. I was born in an environment where that wasn't the case. I had a dad who was addicted to drugs and alcohol, and then, my mom was super lovely and, all by herself, couldn't support a family of 4 kids all on her own. I don't blame her. I think I would probably die. So we somehow managed to get through all of that, but I then had to spend so much of my time just trying to pick up the pieces and just try to remember that I'm normal, I'm fine, everything's okay, and I can get through this, and I can still be a successful person. I will absolutely not let these things in my past dictate who I am now and who I am today. And I, certainly would hope that no one else would either. So yeah, here I am, now having to work for myself. I'm trying to devise my own plan. How do I'm a speck on this earth, and how do I get more people to just know more about me, this being one of them. And sorry, I'm reading back some comments. Yep, that's the main problem I have at jobs, and they will fire you in a heartbeat. Yeah, seriously. And obviously, to whoever can kiss ass and we're still kind of have high personal value, I applaud, because in my brain, I was just taught that if you're kissing ass, you don't respect yourself. And I just associate it with negative things. That's my problem. So if I were to able to reframe working for someone else as a positive thing, I could probably do it. I could probably have, stayed at that job. And I'd probably be there right now. But something in me is not willing, I should say. I'm able, I'm just not willing, because of this story that I have in my mind that kissing ass means that you love them more than you love yourself. it's deeply rooted in me, super deeply rooted. There have been some childhood things that have happened, and if I start going into it, I'll probably start to tear up, so maybe I'll just save that for my own personal journaling and I'll process and heal. So in fact, I'll write that down really quick so I don't forget. And maybe that is the key to healing on that journey. Sometimes just saying things out loud, you realize, oh, there it is. So I would like to reiterate the difference between kissing ass and helping people. So, which seems pretty obvious, right? I'm not saying anything new. I'm not saying anything magical. It just is a reminder that the reason why I'm able to help people versus kiss my boss's ass is because I care about people who want to be uplifted rather than caring about bosses who, in turn, in a way I felt like, this recent boss, she really cared in the sense that she wanted to keep money coming into the business so that she could keep paying everybody and making sure that we're all okay. But other than that, there was just no substance to the relationship. And that was unfortunate. And I feel like there was a kissing ass dynamic, and so that deteriorated my self-worth very, very quickly. And versus helping people, if I am able to use what I've gone through, what I've learned, and what people could really benefit from, then I feel like I am building relationships that actually thrive on self-worth and self-respect and all these great things. So that feels way more uplifting to me. And that explains why I would go for something like what I'm doing, even if it's hard. Oh, I'm reading this. Joy. You took business administration. You can figure this out. Is that an assumption or is that a fact? I mean, yes, it's a fact. But like I said before, I took only 2 years. I feel like I got the bare minimum of what I could have learned. And again, I was also just scared and emotionally slightly volatile. MK, if this is not something you're interested in learning, then why don't you just head on out of here? Oh, okay, so MK, you're gonna need to just see your way on out of here if this is bullshit advice. Cool. So anyways, like I was saying, I'm probably gonna have to actually hop off of here pretty soon. I've drinking a lot of water this morning, so I really gotta go. But it's been really nice, and I appreciate you guys for being here and listening. And hopefully, you take something away from a life lesson of mine, and hopefully there's a bit more of a deeper connection. We can kind of just share our life experiences. Bare minimum is still a lot to work with. Okay. I think you're right. Business more than many. You're right. I would say I know a lot more than many. I guess I keep comparing myself to people who know even more, and so it makes a bigger gap, and then I feel like I'm falling behind. But if I think about the amount of people who don't know about these things, then yeah, there is something to be said that I know a lot more than people who don't know certain things. But there is also something to be said that if you keep looking up and you keep striving for more and more and better, then yeah, you'll keep accumulating smart things. There are dudes that can't read and he made $1 billion. That is an interesting thing because they need like 3rd grade level reading levels, and that's just kind of interesting. Prisoners become millionaires in prison and you're smarter than them. Yeah, I think it's because I'm kind of making this as painful of a process as possible, I feel like, for myself. Because I'm guessing that they made themselves, they weren't doing things super ethically, is my guess, is that that's how they became billionaires in prisons. However, if you're trying to do something ethically, like, would those prisoners have tried to reach out to people who want to get healthy? Would you think that would have worked? And other stuff inside. They did stocks. Yeah, so that's a thing. I don't do stocks. And so I think the ways that I'm making this harder on myself is that I've picked a very low paying industry. I have picked one of the like 3 or 4 pillars of like health, wealth, and relationships. So I've picked one of those umbrella industries, if you will, where health, wealth, and relationships are very important, and if you pick one of those 3, you'll do very well, is what I've been told. And so with all of that in mind, I picked health, and I picked personal training because there is a disconnection between the mind and body that's happening right now, where people are prioritizing being very, very smart, and which is great. I can't play that down. It's just that we're also forgetting that we're animals and we don't have much muscle on our bodies anymore, and in order to continue to live a long and healthy life, we have to have muscle. In order to have healthy hormones, you need to have muscle, and there's just so many reasons why we need to have muscle on our bodies, and that's why, that seems to be a really great thing. However, then comes the problem of like, well, how do I get my message out there? How do I not just think about making as much money, but how do I make the most amount of impact? So I go to, ChatGPT research, like, who are the most wealthiest fitness people? What did they do? And how do I just replicate what they do, basically? And, there's the Peloton creator, there's, exponential fitness, there's a couple, female, people, and they've all done pretty well for themselves. And then I realized, oh, interesting, that's kind of like what they did, and that's what made them successful. But you just take the principles of what they did and apply it to yourself. So yeah, I know ChatGPT isn't reliable for everything. It's great for some things, but there is nothing quite like just getting real human advice. But it did give me a list, and then it really then got me to the next question of like, okay, well, if these are the principles by which they acted upon, and that's what made them successful, then great, then I'm on to the next. So, just like you were saying earlier, there's sometimes ways where you can get really great free advice. And so if ChatGPT is just a synthesizer of what's already on the internet and people are posting on the internet, and of course it always keeps learning and learning and learning, then to some degree it is kind of good advice, and it's good free advice. And if I just have these simple questions that just quickly can get answered, and then I can just ask another question until I get to the point where I really can't ask it any more questions, because it just gives me very, very typical, very, very vague, very, I guess I could call it shallow answers. Then of course you start going to an actual human who has done and been through these things, and who has legit education and can foresee what would actually work for me. So yeah. So yeah, thanks again everybody for listening to my rant. I do feel a little one step closer to where we get to our own pivotal moments in our stories, right? So yeah, I will go take care of some other things. And thanks you all for joining in. I can't believe that hour went by super, super fast. And hi Miriam, thanks for joining. I am going to be heading out here in a second. But I will certainly try to hop on again here soon and keep kind of like diving into these things, right? I will say, I'll leave on a little bit more of a positive note. I have gotten a lot of really great education over time. Very, very grateful, very, very fortunate. I don't want to make it seem like, even though I had all these things, like, it wasn't good enough, though. It's not good enough. I shouldn't think like that. It all was great, and I made it great. There's something about champions make and win at everything that they put their minds to. And once I put my mind to graduating and getting my psychology degree, there was no going back. I was like, I'm awake. I finally see what I'm supposed to be doing, to accomplish, to achieve this associate's degree. Then I applied that same principle to college, or to Cal Maritime, and I got my bachelor's super fast. I did everything I was supposed to and more. Then I go to this job, personal training, and I do everything and more. I go to this telecom job, and I do everything and more. I think I will just keep doing everything and more. And I will do it because I believe in my own vision. Yeah, I mean, I see what you mean. That's just obedience, though, not building your freedom. Yeah. I think what I'm trying to hit home here is that I'm not following the kiss-ass print. I'm not trying to follow that. I am following the rules and principles of life, and why try to prove that something doesn't work when you can prove that something does work, right? So if a principle of just trying to accomplish something, that feels way better than trying to prove that something doesn't work, and that is trying to build your own dream. So if building my own dream, let's end on this note, if trying to build my dream or trying to build your dream all relies on connections, taking pivotal actions, not making excuses, not trying to prove something that, is wrong, then way more likely, just by following those principles, to be a lot more successful in life. So I could probably keep going, but I might pee my pants. So I'm gonna head on out of here. It was really great to talk to you guys. Thank you guys for your words of encouragement. Thank you to the haters too that just kind of kept saying negative things throughout this whole thing, because I kept refocusing on rather than taking it personal. So thank you for that practice. We will keep striving for better and better and best. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.